All right, so welcome back into our tag team live stream today. If you guys have been around, maybe hanging in the waiting room, getting a nice brewski, getting ready for the day is over, we're going to dive into our top 20 projects on the CPI. And this is going to give you guys an insight to not only our sentiment data, but also on some of the projects that are starting to move out there in the space right now. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back to TechPath. It's fun because we'll get a chance to really kind of drill into some of these projects and do a little bit of a deep dive. One of the things, though, that I keep, talking about here in essence of growing the market, and when I say growing the market, meaning the altcoin projects that we'll continue to see here, a lot of the Metaverse projects, the blockchain gaming projects that you'll see, again, start to kind of cross over and meld in the middle in this top 20 ranking. And that is why it's very important to understand what's happening in the Metaverse. So we're going to dive in and check all that good stuff out. Before we get started, I want to, of course, thank our sponsor, which is Paybolt. This is one of those very similar projects out there. There's a handful of them that have started to move into crypto payments, being able to basically give you guys the ability to accept crypto on your websites, whether you're doing this as a business or you're doing this maybe as an entrepreneur and you're thinking about maybe taking crypto. This is one of those projects that can definitely help you do it. Paybolt is pretty easy. They've got a ton of roadmap achievements, including their inception of BNB Pay. They've also started to move out on 50,000 holders right now, merchants in over 20 countries, and I think that will be an interesting aspect. Let me zoom up on that. Merchants over 20 countries, and then of course their crypto marketplace, which is getting ready to go, has already gone live. So lots happening with them. Another thing that is kind of cool is they accept crypto right now where you can, and there's no fees. That's right, yeah. So if you have been in the scenario of accepting any kind of online payments, you understand the carriage fees that most banks and credit card companies charge. This is a good opportunity if you are looking at taking crypto payments. Check out Paybolt. And of course, the way to do it is check the link in below, which is just paybolt.io. All right, so let's get to it. And I want to talk about the Metaverse because this is going to lead us into the top 20 and really kind of break it down. This was a story that has broken. A lot of people have reported on it, but I have a different take on this. And that is Morgan Stanley sees $8 trillion Metaverse market in China alone. Now, we've seen numbers like 2 trillion in, overall. We've seen a 4 trillion. China, big market, Pacific Rim. Maybe some of you guys don't know, I had a chance to spend a lot of time in Asia in my early tech career for Microsoft, and I spent a lot of time in about 10 different countries building in that ecosystem, which was at that time an evolving technology community, and it really has become one of the leading players out there. So I do think that we will see a massive move on this. But the real play here, and this is something that a lot of people I think are still kind of putting their head around, is I think we are in place right now for a $50 trillion metaverse. That's right. So you can say PBN broke that news. When we start to see this break out, there's a lot of things leaning in on this. And the reason is very simple. If you have followed internet lore or got to live it, then you understand how fast and how quickly we saw growth. And I want to just kind of jump to a couple of the scenarios real quick. And this was a story, this was done back in, look at that date, November 9th, 2000. That was 22 years ago. That was a $1.7 trillion dot-com lesson that happened in a span of about 52 weeks, about a year. 280 internet stocks essentially cratered, and most of them lost as much as 90%, some of them around the 75% range. And if you look at this right here, the combined market values of the 280 stocks at that time had fallen to 1.9 trillion, currently from around 2.9 trillion at their peak, loss of about $1.7 trillion. This was 22 years ago. And if you look at where the market was, meaning the internet at that era, and what we saw come out of that phase, every billionaire on the planet today that's walking around, whether it's Bezos, whether it's Mark Benioff with Salesforce, whether you take a look at what Elon is doing over at Tesla, all of those guys, Peter Thiel, the PayPal Mafia, all of those guys came out of that event that occurred. Now, will we see that kind of thing happen here? That's the big question mark that I think a lot of people are pointing to. I think that the dot bomb was a training run for what we could see happening with a lot of projects, but the shakeouts that win on the other side, and those are the ones you really need to watch, are going to be the ones that absolutely unhook. And that's where I think we're going to see these massive numbers. If you look at social media, this is an adoption curve for social media from 2005 to 2015. Sounds funny right now, right? 65% of adults use, this was in 2015, so 7 years ago. 65% of adults now use social networking sites. Nearly tenfold jump in the past decade. There's the chart, so you can kind of see it moving up. Internet, social, you can kind of see the movement. Internet users, 65 million, there you go. Continuous, and boom, there you go. Internet usage, 76%, social is at 65. Critical mass started to occur. This right here is a good example of what I think we will see in crypto in the sense of adoption curves. We have not seen the adoption curve. We are right there at the tip before you see those typical bell curves that start to move. So a lot moving in this direction and why it will matter in the long term. I want to get over to Bitcoin's price because I think this is another thing as we track what's happening in the space. What you see here and what we're going to show you today is some breakdown on some sentiment data. And of course, this right here, let me bring that one up a little bit because we've been using a different font right here. So right here we had, this occurred on a red candle day, which was January 26th. We had a 64.19 and a 63.50 on AMP. Again, 63.50 close to the 64.19 sentiment score, but this was up from 2 or 3 days earlier to that date, and that was a 62.81 and a 59.28. Now what you'll notice here is that this was a movement upward, and immediately right behind that is what you end up getting. From the time we scored on a negative day, we were scoring positive movement, and this is what we've seen with Bitcoin. Now, those are the kind of things that sentiment data starts to reveal, and in some projects will start to predict how these projects kind of roll out. And some things that we are doing, I want to look also over here at the Terra price because this is another project that made the top 20. Terra, of course, let's go to the 1 month. You can kind of see this little bit of a rebound right here that's occurring right now. Terra, I think, is going to be in a position, even though it did have a little bit of a problem with some of the issues that it was faced with from a PR standpoint. So I think that one will correct fairly quickly. But the one that really kind of surprised everybody, I don't think it surprised anybody, but I thought a lot of people were looking at it, and that was Avalanche. Avalanche, of course, was our #1 token last week in our CPI. And if you look back here on the 7-day, when you could have gotten in right there at around $61, now trading right there at the high at 74, and right here smothering in at around 71. So a nice big move for Avalanche. And again, these are projects that are identified in our CPI. Most of the time we'll deliver those here on the show and give you guys access to it, but we don't do it often enough because we're constantly pulling data in all these different projects and different categories. So we'd have to just do nothing but that. So we want to keep you guys informed on other projects. But anyway, if you're interested in getting into the index itself, it's pretty simple to do. The way you do it is you jump over here to PBN. All right, so this is the way you'll get to the power index if you want to get and be part of it. Mine, I'm just logged in right now, so I'm just going to go back to my library. And if I'm in the diamond circle, that's free. Maybe I'm interested in some taxes, tax prep guide. I can go in and grab that one. But I want to go into the index itself. This is the one where I'm a member. And this, of course, gives me that overall sentiment breakout. Let me zoom up on this because it's going to give you guys some little bit of insights on the overall category. And when we track against overall sentiment, which is the 12-week, that's all crypto projects, almost 8,000 projects being tracked. So you can kind of see a little bit of a stabilization right now on overall. Then you look at Bitcoin, definitely a little bit, but it is slowing its decline. That's good. ETH started to go flat. We may see an uptrend on ETH right now, so that's an interesting one. Here's altcoins, nice little bounce again, following what we saw. Again, Avalanche leading out the space. And then there's Metaverse, which really only took a little bit of a dip right back here on January 3rd, and then immediately recovered on January the 10th. And then, of course, we've got the 17th, had another little rise, another little dip, and then a little bit of a flat, but up here on the 31st. So again, easy to track against these. We also cover DeFi. And then you can kind of see what the overall does by Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoin. These are overall versus, and then here's the overall versus meta. And then you can jump into the different projects. And I want to get into the top 20 here for this week. I'll zoom up real quick for you guys on this. Again, this is the projects that starts breaking it down. So again, Avalanche breaks out again as number one, holding it at a 75.08 and a 74.61. And that's kind of interesting too, because I'm looking at how close this has been with Avalanche for 2 weeks now. Helium is a surprise because they've moved up the charts pretty quickly. Again, had some movement on their token, a little bit soft on their amplification. Hedera, we had Mance Harmon on our show just last week, or maybe it was early this week. No, it was last week. So check out his video, but he really goes into a deep dive on Hedera. Phantom, a little soft, and this is one that I've talked about, one that I like and I will hold this year, but definitely going to take a little bit on the chin, I think, in the month of February. Polygon starting to move a little bit. I think we'll see some stuff. And then, of course, Crow, we already saw some action on Crow with its nice little move this week. Arweave about even. FTX having a little bit of a move, made it into the top 10, and Theta coming in also at number 10. And then you've got Polkadot, Maker, XRP coming in, holding a little soft. Chili's coming and making a presentation, and then Ecomi, also because of all the news we've seen on the migration. A lot happening there. Algorand makes it a quick move into the space on sentiment, but not anticipated to hold, and that's because of the amplification scores that we'll see there. Graph, Terra again in there. Solana really taking a little bit of a pounding on the sentiment side, and then Clayton, which was a new entry in the top 20. So these are the kind of projects that we'll continue to dive into for you guys. And there's a lot more in the Power Index. You can check out gaming. You can look at the Metaverse. You can also look at our trending. And our trending is kind of interesting because we look at projects that maybe have not made it into our credential for the broader data discovery that we do. It's usually a smaller macro trend data that we'll look at that identifies projects that are on the up and coming. So make sure and check out that. You can, of course, click the link below if you want to get into the index itself. We're going to take some questions because I want to get into those and kind of curious on what you guys think about how the Metaverse could sway the traditional altcoin sector and where that might flow into the rest of the market, because we're seeing more and more of this starting to show up right now in trends. So a lot happening for sure. All right, let's go over to our questions, get into KB Verse. Big advocate for Ecomi. Absolutely, man. We love it. I'm glad you guys love it. Ecomi, I think, has got a real possibility here to make a dent in the universe. The key here, they've got to get that conversion done with VV, and that in the app itself. Just being able to get those gems into a tradable economy is going to be a key element for sure. All right, what's happening? Kind of scenarios, and I think Luna is the same issue, because Luna, remember, was on the floor when we really started to showcase Luna and saw a big run up on that. So again, timing in the market is everything, but also time in the market is everything. Cosmos and ICP, interesting that you went with ICP. We've had Dominic on the show, and it was a long time ago. We probably should maybe revisit, but a lot of people got hurt on that initial, many people called it a rug pull, but there was an initial fall off. Now, I don't necessarily think that was the case. I think they just had an overhype of what they were trying to do, and they're just very early. Projects like ICP are so big in what they're trying to do, it's hard for them it's kind of like Blocktopia. You're trying to do too much. Really what they need to do is isolate in on a certain handful of achievements and go execute on those. Because if they do that, you're going to see market movement and you're going to see those investors come in, and of course, obviously, the group. All right, so this is another one. If FTX is buying liquid exchange, so price is getting ready to move there. Definitely knew that was coming. Paul, love the show. Any crypto surprised you in your top 20 yet? This week, I would say the surprise for me is Clayton. This one is 73.05 and a 71.12. Because of the fact that it's holding in a little tight right here, this one is a little bit of a surprise to me. Solana, most of these guys are and have been in the top 20 before. XRP, just because of their army, you've got that one always makes the move. Maker has been kind of in there. You look at Binance Coin, again, just strong ecosystems. Hedera, very solid projects. But there is movement in these top 20, so it is not something that stays the same. A lot of these will cycle in and out all the time. Let's get over to a poll real quick and try to wrap this up for you guys, because I think there's some cool stuff. Do you use analytics data tools when you're trading? All right, cool. Glad to see that. 55% of you, 45% of you not. I'm kind of curious what you do use. Are you just picking tokens like what you like, which is fine. I do that too. But I'm just kind of curious if you're looking at that or just looking at market cap and trade volume. Maybe that's the analytical tool you're using, because that could go across to things like Market Cipher and some of those volume-based data. Or maybe do you look at on-chain data? That's going to be interesting to kind of cool. Patrick Weirs, Pegaxi, yes, just had it on a video last week. Go check the video out for sure. We did a Pegaxi Z run and D-race comparison. It was kind of cool. Pegaxi came out on top, so good for you. Zuki MOBA. It fell hard. It did fall hard, but it is one of those that continues. It has a good community, and that is the one thing that sticks around. When a community sticks around, even when the project starts to dip, then you got something. And I think that's one of the scenarios with Zuki MOBA. I'm going to kind of watch that one a little bit. Yes, the CPI dashboard is available now. Thanks for asking. You can just click the link below and you can go get it. I think the whole metaverse narrative is something that the average person can relate to and experience. If the crypto side can blur a little more, might get more people in. I think the point that the metaverse makes for Joe Sixpack and just the common person that uses technology and the internet daily is that they just need to be explained. It is the next internet. Most people get that when you say that, and they always want to know why. And the evolution is when what we've seen and everybody has seen in the internet today, and that is security, the issue of your data not being yours, all those kind of factors that have kind of rolled in, and then these closed and walled gardens. All of that, I think, people experience on a day in, day out basis. And when you say Web3 or the metaverse fixes that, then now they're paying attention. Wait a minute, it fixes issues on scam artists. Now, sure, you're going to have scam artists out there trying to get you a token, but once you're inside the blockchain and you're connected, and we see more security continue to layer up on that, then you're as tight as you're going to be, probably more so from a financial aspect. And then you talk about the opportunity for e-commerce. They already understand that. You mean I don't have to use my credit card in the way that I've used my credit card before? It's just connecting a digital wallet. Boom. People start to get it. Yeah, you just have to paint the picture for them, and it's definitely going in there. Thanks for the super chat there, Marion. Let's see. What about eGold? Okay, very good. New tokens listed on DEX. eGold has been in our top 20 before, so that's a good one too. Disney just announced they're looking for an NFT expert. Guess what that means? BB. I'll just say it. BB. Anyway, you guys have been great. It's good seeing you. And of course, if you are listening in over on the podcast right now, make sure and jump over here to the YouTube channel. This is the place where you're going to get all the insights. We're going to give you the data. We're going to give you the love right here on PBN. And of course, you got to join the Diamond Circle. Guess what we're doing next week? We're giving away $1,000 in Bitcoin back out to you guys. The only way you get it, though, join the Diamond Circle. Make sure you're in our selection. We're going to try a new selector tool, which I think is going to be kind of cool to use. We're going to get that ramped up for you guys. We're going to do it on Monday, and it's going to be the official launch. Probably bring some champagne in and have a big one for the CPI launch. So anyway, great seeing you guys. You want to catch me on Twitter, it's @PaulBarron. We'll see you next time right here on TechPath.